Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. I am not Eckhart Tolle, and this is not a Power of Now presentation. I know you probably think that my talk title is misprinted. That's not true. David's such a great singer, and the choir supports him so well. Isn't that fun? I think we should just let him sing the rest of the service and let me sit down. I must tell you, his first song reminded me of a great story, the story about Moses and the parting of the Red Sea. Few of you may know this to be true, but it is true that the day before that miracle took place, Moses was walking on the side of the sea with his PR man, Ernie. Is there skepticism in the room? No, this is a true story. It sounds apocryphal, but it's true. So he turned to Ernie, he said, Ernie, tomorrow I'm going to raise my right hand, and the children of Israel are going to come through and go to the promised land, to the other side of the sea. The seas will part as we go through. And then when the soldiers in search of us are coming after us, I'll raise my left hand, and the sea will come down and engulf the hordes. What do you think? Ernie looked up and said, Mo, baby, you pull that off, I'll get you 2 pages in the Bible. Oh, all right. Had to get that out of my service. Well, here's a phrase, how are you? How are you? We use that cliche all the time, don't we? Hi, how are you? Half the time we raise that question of someone, we don't even listen to the answer. We're just saying hello. Now, that may sound inauthentic, but it's true. We do use the term, how are you, a lot. Businesses have discovered in this age of information that the how of what they do in business is more important than what they deliver. There's a book that's recently been written called How. And in it, the author talks about how the business enterprise and the information age must concentrate more on service than on quality, more on character than on the content of what is actually being produced or the service that is actually being delivered. Dov Simon has written a fabulous book and has pursued a fabulous career as a moral counselor. A Harvard Law student, Simon decided to start his business by counseling not individuals but companies. And today he makes a good deal of money, making a good deal of sense about advising companies on their very character. One of his clients is Google. Now think about Google's mission for a moment. Google intends to secure all of the information in the world, aggregate it, re-aggregate it, and distribute it to you when you want it, where you want it, how you want it, for free. It's the truth. Google makes its money studying yourselves. Google studies what you say to whom, where you go to transact, what kind of information you seek. And they do this with pristine accuracy. Google went into the business not long ago of information service for a directory assistance service. And they would give you for free access to all the names and numbers that you would need. They left that business recently, having declared their enterprise a success. Then why did they leave it? The success they achieved was then studying your voice. Google studied thousands, if not millions, of different voices in an effort to perfect speech-to-text and text-to-speech software. If Google studies who you talk to and when, Facebook studies how you behave. If you post on your Facebook page that you've just been engaged, don't be surprised within 10 minutes to an hour if you don't get 3 advertisements for wedding planning services at zip codes nearby. That's how Facebook works, and that's how Google works. Now, we think the age of privacy is over. It is over. The age of transparency now eclipses the age of privacy. Who once said the measure of a man is determined by what he does when no one is watching? Today, someone's watching. And so the character of organizations and individuals becomes extremely important. Alexander Woollcott was a great writer who penned much of the music the funny lyrics sung by Groucho Marx. And a lot of the Marx Brothers movies were written by Wolcott. He was, too, a moral advisor. Wolcott once said, "Reputation is determined by what you fall for. Character is what you stand for." And so today, successful companies must express character. They must express ethical conduct if they're going to be able to be successful in business, nationally or internationally. What does that say about us? What does it say about the character that we display? We behave by what we believe. We act our way into better behavior sometimes, having to act certain ways to change beliefs. But what we believe is basically how we behave. So where do we turn to these days, in these days of transparency, to be inspired by character that we can stand for? One of my favorite authors is Emmett Fox. He's that great metaphysician who lived at the time of the Fillmores and who took a completely different view of the Holy Bible, which he believed deeply was inspired by God through man. Fox would take metaphors from the Bible and write dozens and dozens of essays. And one day, he wrote his really extraordinary seminal work called The 7 Aspects of God, where he dared to describe some of the qualities that he thought were universal to God in an effort to inspire a kind of belief and values that would be healthy, good values on which we could build not just companies, but communities. One of the aspects he talks about is that God is truth. Another he talks about is that God is love. Another he talks about is that God is intelligence. So he starts by saying that God is life. And that's a reassuring promise from Fox. God is life. God is not death. And we, in these vessels we call human bodies, are experiencing something called life from a gift from God. Whether it's the innocent look on a baby's face or the majesty of an eagle flying in the air on a sunset evening, God is life. And we have been created in the likeness of God, and so we are life, and life is eternal. This is the reassuring message Fox delivers in that aspect. He says God is truth. Be true to yourself. And to recognize that truth means we must embrace reality. Truth means that we have to accept change. Truth is indisputable. Lies are not truth. God is love. And although there are 7 aspects to God, and they all have equal weight as far as Emmett Fox is concerned, love is the leader among the equals. It's the active verb. It's the selflessness. It's the unselfishness. It's the honor that God brings to our lives and that we bring to God as we are an instrument of God. St. Augustine said, "Love God and do what thy will." He didn't mean that if you loved God, you could engage in whatever kind of rascal behavior you wanted to engage in. He meant sincerely that if you really, truly love God, then thy will be the will of God. That's character. Fox says God is intelligence, pure, absolute intelligence, bringing reassurance to us that there is order in the earth, order in the universe, order in the way things are organized by God on our behalf. God is soul. And when he says God is soul, he means God is in the individual's soul. God is in our soul. And soul and individual mean indivisible. It's a collective soul. It's the conscience that connects us all. God is spirit. Fox says spirit is what makes God ever present. And spirit is the Christ within. That each and every one of us has the potential to make a miracle. Fox honestly believes that Moses, despite the work of his PR man, did part the Red Sea and did live 900 years. He did because he didn't have beliefs that limited his potential. And so he could be an instrument of God in parting those waters. And so he could live nearly 1,000 years because that is what his potential required him to do. And finally, Emmett Fox says God is principle, bringing not only order to the world, but certain principles that are absolutely indisputable as well. The principle of karma, for example. Every action has a reaction. What you give, you will inevitably get, if not more so. Now, these are elements, aspects of God, and they are by themselves singularly unhelpful. What happens when they're combined is that they become the kind of thing like H2O becomes. Hydrogen and 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. You have water. Elements become compounds, so that if you practice truth and love, you will be seeing beauty. If you practice intelligence and love, you will be engaged in the value of wisdom. Let's talk about beauty. Let's talk about truth and love for a moment to see if we can find those values on which we can build a better community in this transparent world that we're living in. Truth, embracing reality. Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? The answer to both questions is yes. That's reality. Reality also means that we occasionally have setbacks in life, and we can't deny them as something that we don't want to happen any more than we can control them. We have to find meaning in them. Heaven knows that when I denied I was blind, I was sure going to get in a lot of trouble. I was going to be injured, and I was not going to understand my limits nor discover my gifts. But when I embraced my blindness as a gift, a whole world opened to me. A world that was nothing less than beautiful. A beautiful world of places where I could do things and make a difference because I could become a man, a blind man of vision, could help people see things they otherwise couldn't see, could frame things in a context that was uniquely enabled by this horrible thing that had apparently happened to me when I lost my eyesight. So truth means we have to embrace reality and we have to deal with adversity. Love means we have to know how to give and how to receive. We know that giving is important, and we also need to know how to accept gifts that come from others. We also have to understand how to be empathetic if we're going to be loving. If we really practice love, we have to understand that empathy means that I not only know how you feel, but can be present for you at a time when you need someone to be present. I'm not just sympathetic, I'm empathetic. So we look at these principles that Emmett Fox teaches us, and we ask ourselves, if those aspects are the aspects of God, how can we make those aspects of our own daily life? Have you got a minute to dream? Can you think for a second about a community that is an exciting and inspiring community? People today who work for a living and are employed by others are no longer really motivated by the common industrial challenges that were associated with work in the 20th century. That was the industrial age. In those days, coercion and motivation were the two qualities that caused people to work. Just do it was the slogan for Nike, and just do it was the attitude that employers oftentimes took toward their workers. You do it, you get to keep your job. You do it, and you don't lose your job. You do it, and you get to be given an extra opportunity. Or motivation. You just do it, and we'll pay you a bonus. You just do it, and we won't cut your salary. Those are not things that work anymore. Sure, we all need to be paid fairly. Sure, we all need to be respected. But leadership in companies today requires us to be inspired. Only those workers who are inspired will deliver a better how than the competition. And so what inspires people? Not that they are bricklayers or working as brick masons, but that they are building a cathedral. And the attitude we have to take about our communities these days and about our own character expressed in those communities is that we are not just living in town. We're not just paying our taxes. We're not just sending our kids off to school or being good family members. We're building a cathedral, and it's called our community. And it's a transparent world in which we now live. So, when you think of parting the Red Sea, you don't have to think about Ernie the PR man anymore. You can honestly embrace the possibility that in Moses' time, a sea could be parted because he loved God and did thy will. And when you think of opportunities that you have in your own life to make a difference in the lives of others, what will be the values that will inspire you? What will be the moral compass that you will use to guide your behavior? What will be the direction that you will set for yourself in order that the standards that you are achieving in your daily life will inspire others? There's no need for pain. There's no need for suffering. There's no need for the divisiveness that makes the world come apart. There's a need for us to come together. And when we come together around the principle of spirit, we come together around the soul of God. And when we come together around the soul of God, we come together around the divine intelligence that God brings us to inspire all of us to be our best and to do better. Do you value courage? If you do, then be who you are. Do you value compassion? If you do, then exercise that compassion toward others, and they will exercise it to others as well as to you. Do you value industriousness? Then make a difference. Be productive. Contribute. Do you value your own life as much as the life of any others? You must love yourself in order to enlarge your capacity to love others. So when I think about Google, and I think about this transparent world that we live in, and I think about the privacy that seems to have been replaced by that transparency, I'm not so worried. I've always known somewhere in my intuitive spirit that there is a God that is ever present in my life. And no matter how much I think I might be getting away with or triumphing over, I know that God has always been there and always will be there. So on this day, the power of how is not what you are or what you are becoming, but it is how you do what you do. And remember in school when we learned about synonyms and homonyms and antonyms, remember what an anonym is? A palindrome, is level, L-E-V-E-L. Spell it forward, spell it backward, it's the same word. And an anagram is a word whose letters form another word. And so in this case, the how is also H-O-W, is also who, W-H-O. And the how is who, and the who is you. So the next time somebody says casually or in the most friendly way, how are you? Think of it differently. Think not how are you, but also who are you? And know that who you are arises from what you believe, and what you believe defines how you behave, and how you behave determines your character. Let's think now about character and about building community as we go into meditation.
helpful to straighten your spine a bit. Find that place where your head is resting comfortably on your shoulders. And take a few slow, deep breaths, breathing in and filling up your lungs completely. Holding that breath for a moment. And then exhaling, letting every drop of air out. Breathing in and out slowly a couple of more times. Allowing that sense of settling in and settling down. Giving ourselves this most precious time to be with ourselves, to reflect on how we are, and to reflect on who we are. And so the gift of this moment is to have an opportunity to think about the possibilities in your own life. To know that God is within you and all around you. And that we can tap into this incredible power that is the truth of who and what we are. So as we enter the silence, let's take this opportunity to tap into that incredible power within you. In the silence. And as we let go of the silence, we know that we take with us this deeper connection to God, the source, the truth, the principle of all of who and what we are. And that innate power that is within us, all around us, serving us for our higher good. And so it is.
I now let go. There is nothing to fear. I now let go. There is nothing to fear. I now let go. There is nothing to fear. I now let go. I now let go. I have